Namaskar, Nileshok. In another episode, let's get into the subject for today. The title: Overcoming Naivety and Childishness. Maybe these two are the same things. In any case, it begins with one of the comments to my videos. This one, Raghu Narayanan ji. Okay, we'll just call Raghu Narayan ji for this episode. Okay, his handle name, I presume it's he, handle name 557. We'll just call him Raghu Narayanan ji. He writes, now I think this is in context to my video, which has, I forgot the number now, but it's been seen by 2-3 lakhs of people, so that's 200-300,000 people, where I have discussed exhaustively all the evidence for Mars from the Mahabharata text in the context of Mahabharata war, and basically have shown that this evidence only leads to one specific year and no other year. No ifs, no buts. No matter how much one jumps, dances, sings, it does not matter. Now, of course, the condition is that the person has a basic sense of scientific acumen, logical reasoning skills. Okay, so this background knowledge is to be expected because there are enough of trolls, enough of folks with agenda, enough of folks who show extreme immaturity, and then they can claim anything. Now, Raghu Narayananji appears to be a consumer of this research, so he doesn't have any claim or anything. But just from his comment, it appears that he is, and he is not alone, like many others, majority I would say, is stuck into this dogma of Kali Yuga beginning 3102 BC, therefore Mahabharata war happening in 3102 BC. And this is a very funny game that gets played, okay? For example, in some places or a group of people who will accept the verdict of the Mahabharata text itself. Not that they have read it, but I presume based on a hearsay that the Kali Yuga began exactly the same time as the Mahabharata war, and in which case they take this what can you say, a hearsay, I don't know even where it originated. In fact, that would be a very interesting story to tell, that the Kali Yuga began in 3102 BCE. When I say I don't know, my point is I do not want to discuss that in this episode. Otherwise, this episode would be 3 hours long. Okay? This is how utterly nonsensical stuff has gone behind this creation of 3102 BCE as the beginning of a Kali Yuga. This is something I may, and I'm saying only may, address in future episodes. But that's a understanding incorrect, erroneous, fictitious, but unfortunately very entrenched into the Indian psyche, okay, from north to the south and from east to the west and around the globe, okay, wherever the Indians are, that 3102 BCE is the beginning of Kali Yuga. And even when I will make a video just like this or many others saying that's not correct, the people will say, oh, but you said 3102 BC is the beginning of Kali Yuga. That's where we have to understand that many people actually have a comprehension issues. Okay. Anyways, what Raghu Narayananji writes is this. He says, Dear Nileshji, the position of Mars may tally with your target year 5561 BCE. And now he does not write however, but that's what he means. He says, however, the same position of Mars may tally with the year around 3102 BCE also. Remember, Okay, he's saying it Mars position may tally with 5561 BCE, but it may also tally with 3102 BCE. And then he writes the last statement, the Vakta, he means to say Vakra, the Vakra motion of Mars occurs very frequently in almost every revolution. Just like Shankaracharya says, even our comprehension, the reality, the way Lokayatra, the way Vyavahar of human beings, the Vyavahar, the daily workings of society works with a combination of what is the Sat, the truth, and what appears to be a truth which may or may not be the truth. And in that context, he says, Satyanrute dve mithunikrutya vartate lokayatra. Okay, so similarly, in what Raghunarayanji is writing, there are some statements which are true. For example, let's start backwards. When he says the Vakra motion of Mars occurs very frequently in almost every revolution, this is true. Now, this is true whether somebody understands Vakra to mean a retrograde motion, or in the context of Mahabharata, if someone understands the Vakra to mean correctly, as I have pointed out, not referring to retrograde, but actually the oblique crossing of Mars across the ecliptic. In both cases, still his statement is true that the Vakra motion of Mars occurs in every revolution. Not almost, actually, it happens in every revolution. In fact, in every revolution of Mars, the obliquely crossing across the ecliptic will happen twice, and the retrograde motion will also happen once. Okay, so it's not like very frequently or almost. No, we know for sure. We can exactly decide to a exact number, like we know how frequently Mars goes retrograde and how frequently it obliquely crosses the ecliptic. Let's go to his second statement, going from the bottom. The same position of Mars may tally with the year 3102 BC also. So he's not certain about it, he's not confident about it, but he's saying, look, have you considered the possibility that it might have also done the same thing in 3102 BC? So my answer to that is yes, he has shown a hesitation, and rightfully so. And actually the answer is, of course I have checked it, and no, the answer is no. The 8 different descriptions of Mars as described in the Mahabharata text do not occur at 3102 BCE and around 3102 BCE. Okay, it does not. But his statement is correct because he's saying it may happen, not that it does happen. So in that sense, it's correct. It's okay on his part to think that that might have been a possibility. The correct answer is that was not the case. That is not the case. Now, the first point, he says the position of Mars may tally with your target year 5561 BCE. Now, that is wrong because it is not a question of if or but or does it, are you sure? No, I am 100% certain that all the 8 descriptions of Mars given in the Mahabharata text match for 5561 BCE. But that's not enough. In fact, I need to go one step further and say that, in fact, all the 8 description of Mars given in the Mahabharata text only gets corroborated by 1 year. 1 year. And just for simplicity, we will say last 20,000 years. Only 1 year, and that year is 5561 BCE. No other time interval, no other year. Okay. So in response, I already gave him a response, which I said, please try to match 8 descriptions of Mars from Mahabharata for any year other than 5561 BCE, and you will know why Mars evidence is so decisive for 5561 BCE, and therefore determining the year of Mahabharata war. Now, I'm just taking this opportunity. In fact, I don't know who Raghu Narayananji is, and I'm glad that he was kind to write down in a note what he felt or what was on his mind, and this just gives me an opportunity to address few other issues that I find as recurring issues with various comments that I see, but also the people when they ask question and answer after my lectures, one-on-one interactions that I come across as I travel around the world. Okay, so the 8 descriptions, for example, I said they tally with 5561 BC and only with 5561 BC. Now, this is in a scientific language, this is a falsifiable statement. This is a refutable statement. That must be one of the quality of a scientific claim, that it must be refutable. Okay, it must be falsifiable. Now, that doesn't mean, many people just confuse that, so let me expose that naivety first. Raghu Narayanji has not said that. Is that when somebody says, oh, that fellow wrote something as a refutation of Nilesh Oak's claim. Well, just because somebody wrote doesn't mean that fellow refuted it. What he or she has done is made an attempt, and somebody has to actually analyze and come to the conclusion whether it is a refutation or not. Otherwise, every Dick and Harry, or at least many Dick and Harrys, and you can just make a long list of my growing trolls, and I'm very happy about it, they talk all kinds of nonsense. Okay, and that's welcome, by the way, guys, because through this manthan people are going to understand where the truth lies. Okay, so 8 descriptions tally with 5561 BC and only with 5561 BC. This is a refutable claim, therefore it is scientific. It's an open challenge by me to anyone around the world. They can look at the Mahabharata text, look at these 8 descriptions. I'm going to show these descriptions of Mars on the next page with specific references, and they can do it. The next comment is may tally with 3102 BCE. He used some caution there, which is good, which was much desired, much required, and I'm glad he used it. The answer is actually it does not tally with 3102 BC. In fact, the 8 descriptions of Mars do not tally with any other year other than 5561 BC. Therefore, in addition to many other reasons such as Arundhati Vasishta observation, Bhishma Nirvana evidence, 50 plus descriptions of planetary evidence, 40 plus descriptions of phases and positions of the moon, on and on, why 5561 BC is the year of Mahabharata war. Quickly, third point. The Vakra motion of Mars occurs frequently in almost every revolution. Yes, this is a trivially true statement. I'm not undermining what he's saying. Raghunarayan, this does show that Raghunarayanji does understand the Vakra motion, that typically means retrograde. The statement is true. And if he has understood what I meant by oblique crossing across the ecliptic, then it is also true. The point I want to make it is, even when person says something, it's important, if possible, to split that information into multiple points and acknowledge what may be correct and acknowledge what is incorrect, what may be partially correct, and what is decisively false. Okay, I think we owe it to others when we do that, instead of lumping them into one bucket. Like, for example, when my trolls write all kinds of nonsensical stuff, then many of my fans, many of my co-researchers, many of the folks who are analyzing my research work for more than 10 and 15 plus years, they will just put these trolls into a dump bucket and I won't blame them at all. These trolls deserve it. But to be fair to them, even I try to find if they have done something good, I want to acknowledge it. Just like in trying to refute the Arundhati Vasishta observation, one of my trolls, he actually created additionally refined graphs. using right ascension data, but also the standard error and some other assumptions, some of them actually wrong the way he employed it. But still, the outcome was actually a more refined outcome, and frankly, although the objective of my troll was to show why Arundhati Vasishtha is not correct, he may not ever understand, because that requires a certain level of comprehension, which unfortunately this guy lacks. But what he created is nevertheless beautiful, and I have shared that with people, because I said, look, this is a sensitivity analysis. Even it does not matter which way you do, which way you try to slice and dice this Arundhati Vasishtha observation. Guess what? It is the epoch of Arundhati, and that defines a certain time interval that tells us Mahabharat war is not possible in the last 6,500 to 7,000 years. We have to go before 7,000 years from today to get to the year of Mahabharat war. That's what Arundhati Vasishtha consistently is telling since 2009. And just keep on watching, guys. There are these folks, okay, who are or were in this area of the dating of Mahabharata, and they have gone mute. Okay, they dare not say anything about Arundhati Vasishtha. They dare not say anything about Bhishma Nirvana evidence. They dare not say anything about the planetary evidence. They dare not say anything about the phases and positions of the moon, and the list goes on. I mean, that may include Dwarka, that may include genetic Y chromosome bottleneck evidence, that may include climatology evidence, that may include Saraswati evidence, on and on. All right, so the 8 descriptions are given here for the Mars in the context of Mahabharat war. They occur in Udyog Parva, they occur in Bhishma Parva, and just one reference occurs in Shalya Parva, that is on the last day of the Mahabharat war. And all of this will take you to only 1 year, 5561 BCE. So that's it, actually, what I wanted to say. But in this context, I thought I will quote something from Brihad Aranyak Upanishad. This is how the Upanishadic wisdom is. If standalone, good number of us try to read it, me included, it kind of, we just may not understand what it is trying to say. It may, I'm saying we, but I will say about my own experience, I have found it boring. I said, why is this person repeating the same thing, and what do I do with it? But when you actually do something, krutam sampadyate charan, when you become active, get in action and produce something, and then you see the reaction of the people to this, then you start understanding the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, which is also Upanishad, wisdom of other Upanishad, and so. So here, again, not specifically referring to Raghu Narayananji, but he's Narayananji, but he's also included, is like somebody has to go, other than, just giving a comment just off the cuff. Somebody has to spend some time and understand the background, get some basic lessons in Nyaya, get some basic lessons in Tarka Shastra, get some basic lessons in scientific acumen, the Vijnana Buddhi, Tantra Yukti, become familiar with the developments in modern science, for example, be it evolution, be it genetics, be it astronomy, it doesn't matter which subject you pick. You will see how it led from one step to the next step in an iterative fashion, and how we made progress. This applies not to the physical, empirical progress we make. This applies to the training of our mind and the training of our buddhi. Okay, and in that context, this citation from Brihad Aranyak Upanishad is relevant, so I thought I will mention it. So it goes something like this: Tasmad Brahmana Pandityam Nirvidya Balyena Tishtaset Balyam cha Pandityam cha Nirvidya Atha Munihi Amaunam cha Nirvidya Atha Brahmana. So it says, now that, or after this, and now once you understand this, and therefore, you can take this Tasmad in that context. Tasmad Brahmana, so after that, a knowledgeable person who has achieved a panditya, Okay, but the suggestion, the advice here is pandityam nirvidya and balyena tishta said. The person should able to digest the erudition. Okay, digest in the sense of make it a second nature, so that the person is not wearing on the shoulder, you're not wearing on the collar, whatever way you want to use it. But you can see people, just so proud of whatever little that they have achieved, and live yourself or behave, you can say, balyena tishta set, like a child, in an innocent fashion, in a simple fashion. Like child doesn't wear, many things. It's just in Marathi we call it niragas, just a very simple pleasures of life, very happy generally. Of course it will cry if it's hungry, but the point is there are no emotions in the sense of being envious, being angry with someone, at someone, okay, and deliberately creating nonsensical stuff like murkhata or foolishness, just to create a havoc. Generally it won't do that. Okay, so balyena tishta said, but that's not sufficient, because sometimes the childishness, the innocence is good, but then the childishness again, depending on how old are you and in what context you are doing it, so basically understanding etiquettes. So that childishness also, the innocence is welcome, but the childishness is also, you have to digest, you have to get rid of, in a sense. Okay, so there the shloks or the verse says balyam cha pandityam cha nirvidya. When you also digest this childishness properly, then you become muni. Now many times people think of muni means the one who does not speak. Well, that's not the understanding of it. But what it means is muni has to do with a mana, which is to say the person speaks only after thinking properly, and then speaks whatever is required. Okay, in that case again is saying amaunam cha nirvidya, which is to say the person has digested the erudition, the person has digested the childishness, but even after that the person has become mindful. Recently we hear that word mindful, you can use that word for a muni. Proper thinking, and only what is required the person speaks. Okay, he or she knows when to speak, when not to speak. Amaunam cha nirvidya atha brahmana. Now we started with the brahmana in the sense of a jnani, a knowledgeable person. So why are we saying okay, so when somebody does all of this, then only he is a brahmana? Well, the emphasis is in this sense that a knowledgeable person, should begin and digest the erudition and live innocently, behave innocently. But that's not enough. The person should take the next step. Innocence is good, but the childishness should be removed. Even that should be digested along with panditya. Then only the person becomes muni. Muni in the sense of the person really mindful, really thinks before he or she speaks, and knows exactly when to speak, when not to speak. When that is understood, then the person is truly knowledgeable. In that sense, the last line, atha brahmana, is there. Okay, that's it, that guys I had. If you want to build all of this, of course there are many other books, but in the context of what I am discussing, definitely if you have these books already, guys, read them. If you have already read them once, read it twice, and if you have read them twice, read 3 times. I read my own books after 15 plus years, and every time I find new insight. Okay, that's why my wife calls me narcissist. I read my own books, but the feeling every time I get is that yes, I have written them, but when I read them, I get the feeling that somebody else has written them. Or somebody made me write them, to the extent I chuckle and I get excited about the argument that is made in these books and so on. The depth of scientific acumen, the depth of logical reasoning, and the tantra yukti is actually phenomenal. So I won't blame my wife for calling me narcissist. Okay, anyways, if you are in India, then subbupublications.com is the best place to get these books as a set, and usually a good package price. If you already have them, guys, don't stop reading them. Read them, Come up with your doubts, write them in the comments, and don't send me as an email or something. I don't get to see them anymore. Just some of my volunteers on my team see them. So the best way is to make these as a comments in YouTube. Now YouTube also is seen by my volunteers, but they do send me these questions at least for a review. All right, so do read them, do write them. Okay, do write your comments, and that's how we are going to learn together. And if you are outside India, of course you can, outside India you can buy from Subbu Publications too, but sometime you may find it a lot easier to go to Amazon. These three books, the covers look like this if you go to Amazon worldwide, and you can have the set. And that's it. I'll stop on this one. Please write your comments, and I will see you soon in another episode on some other interesting subject. Namaskar.